Ace.
We've got a unique setup here. As you notice, the competition floor is not in the normal HIIT setup. This is set up in such a way that it is a square that the athletes will enter and exit from, so that this makes sure that each and every athlete on the competition floor is running the exact same distance. So a lot of times, and even if you've been watching and following along throughout the course of this weekend, what happens, Scott, is all the athletes exit the building, of course. Now, they're out on their 800-meter run. But when they re-enter the building, sometimes you're like, oh, so-and-so's got the lead, and so-and-so. And then you're like, oh, wait a second. They have to run all the way around to their barbell. So it honestly takes a little bit of patience when the athletes enter and exit to get a real good gauge of who is where and how many reps ahead they are. So I appreciate the setup of the square because of that specifically. Now,
well, my question for you is where would you want to be in that square? Would you want to be out the door first or kind of chasing everybody down?
I would rather be out the door last so that I'm to my barbell first.
I like that too.
On the last round specifically, right? Because we've seen so many leads exchange hands on the final round or two rounds. And you know what happens for a lot of these men and women that have that high level of capacity, man. They're like doing steady singles throughout the entire workout. And then if they've got it in the tank, they're gripping and ripping on that last barbell. So it just seems as though I would love the opportunity to get my hands on as soon as possible, even if that meant the rest of those 5 rounds, me navigating, working at what I felt was a slight deficit, kind of playing catch up, because you know how that goes in the heat of competition. It almost allows your mind to be focused on, okay, I'm catching up, or I'm slightly behind, even though you're not, technically.
Yeah, it just gives you something to chip away at. You can pick people off as you go, and it just takes you out of your head of like, this is 800. It's like, okay, pass one, pass another. But the only thing that I wouldn't like about being in the very back is if you had stairs, you know, and had to go up a set of stairs. Like I believe they had to do that out in Carson. I think here they have a little bit of an incline.
Yeah, a little bit. They said it's, you know, a slight incline, but it's quite minimal in regards to like what the athletes were dealing with last weekend. But yeah, they do have a little bit of that as an obstacle, and you know how that goes. That gives you a little bit of a burn, a little extra burn.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, so as long as you don't get stuck behind someone that's just, you know, lollipopping that first 800, you know, it kind of is going to shake out, I think, here after that first round, and you won't see too many issues there.
Yeah. Scott, what was the first year that you competed in the sport of CrossFit?
2012 was my first year competing.
Okay, 2012. I was just reliving my first experience in 2011. Back in the day, it was the first year that regionals ever existed. Can you tell me, talk to me, like, you played college football at Mount Union.
I did.
Right?
I did.
Believe you played and crossed some paths with my brother-in-law, Lambert Budzinski.
Yes.
He was out there.
I did, Lambert. Jeez, oh man.
That's right.
Small world.
It is a tremendously small world. I remember when he came out to Utah and started doing CrossFit, he was like, yeah, I think you know my buddy, you know, Scott Panchik. And I was like, oh, yes, I do. I do know who that guy is.
I remember it. Yeah, I remember him saying that.
But, you know, from your perspective in 2012, now we're seeing athletes re-enter the building, folks, and each getting to the barbell. Brooke Wells is the first one in lane 4 with her hands on the bar, already 2 reps in, as then we've also got an athlete in lane 14 getting their hands on the barbell as well.
Hiller.
And that is Ellie Hiller. So as we watch the ladies re-enter the stadium, we've got a packed heat. This is not just a 10-athlete heat. There are 20 athletes out there, and it ranges all the way from lane 20. We've got Jessica Kalagian, Katie Kaleroy, Caroline Spencer, Nina Vrojovic, Brianna Dunbar, Caroline Klutz, Ellie Hiller, Dana Perron, Logan Philo Luce, as athletes are already exiting the stadium. They made short work of the 10 clean and jerks. Jordan Zweck, McKenna Insulin, Kira Napoli, Ashley Wozni, Reese Littlewood, Nicolette Terragiani, Lydia Fish, Brooke Wells, Bailey Maraviglia, and Rachel Fricker, as well as Aniston Sudhoff.
And you had Ellie Hiller head out the door first with Brooke Wells right on her tail.
Right, and always keep in mind that relationship of that rate on the tail. Brooke will get to her bar first,
barbell first,
right?
Yep.
So if all things stay considered, right now we've got Brooke Wells as our early leader. Now, we were just talking about and having this slight discussion, Scott, about like the start of the regionals and the experience. What was your rookie experience at regionals like in 2012, man?
Oh man, my first event, you'll laugh. I was that guy in college that wore bandana, right? Kept the sweat out of my eyes. Now it's a backwards hat, but I remember doing Diane, and I got absolutely murdered. And I was like, throw the bandana away. It's bad luck. Like, I blamed it on the
got rid of it.
I was like, got rid of it, never wore it again. And it was very humbling in that. Like, I came in, I was like, I belong here. Like, let's go. Like, football mindset.
As most college football players do, bro. I had the same mindset mentality.
And just got completely humbled in the first workout. But it was like very character building throughout that weekend because I had some events that did not go well, others that, you know, I was able to shine in a lot of ways. And for me, shining that year was like accomplishing some of those movements. Like I remember we had a chipper that had like ring muscle ups, and that was still a really difficult movement for us. And we had to finish, I think, with like 3 ring muscle ups, and people were doing singles at the end of that workout. And I just remember, you know, being able to do all 3, and it was just a very special weekend to sneak in and get that last spot to the games.
Yeah, man, it's, gosh, I would encourage people that are watching this to be like, yo, 2012? 2012, what was going on in 2012? Well, go look and see what was going on in 2012. You can go to CrossFitGames.com, games.crossfit.com, go there, and navigate what those regional tests look like. Because I tell you what, man, it would be so interesting to watch some of today's athletes in the space go back and do that chipper, that regionals chipper.
Yeah.
Because there were so many things that were included there. It was the deadlifts at like 345 pounds, starting off with ring muscle-ups, almost like a couplet format.
Yeah.
Then after you finish that, you advance to another little chunkin' section.
Wall balls and toes a bar.
There you go.
And then we did a farmer's carry and like 30 burpee box jump overs on a 30-inch box. And that was like our endurance workouts.
Oh, yeah.
Like they were always these long, just gruesome chippers. And it's, you know, it's interesting to see the sport evolve and, you know, seeing these guys run outside for, what, 2.5 miles.
Right. Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think there's been this constant evolution, and I really love this. And of course, I always love to pick other athletes' brains about this. But it's like we had an interesting time where it was like work capacity was so very highly tested in your time where you thrived as an individual competitor. As we watch Brooke Wells re-enter the stadium, crowd going nuts for her. She will be the first at her barbell with Hiller right on her heels now.
Now, one of the interesting things is, you know, Brooke's an athlete that could do some touch and go repetitions here, and you might be wondering, like, well, why is she doing singles? Singles,
talk about it,
is just a great way to keep your heart rate under control in something as aerobic as this type of event. So, you know, her goal here is to follow that barbell down, keep her heart rate as low as possible, and then on that final round, you'll see some of these girls, I bet, do a few touch and go or whatever they got left. And that's when you really empty the tank and that heart rate's gonna go through the roof as you go through the finish line.
That's right. Brooke only has 1 rep left. And I love that you bring that up, Scott, because when you look at the time that you spend on this particular event running versus the time you spend on the barbell with the clean and jerks, it's not even close to equal. And so a lot of athletes might be tempted to say, hey, I should really go fast on the barbell so I can get back out on the run. I'm going to do touch and go. I'm going to do. So it's such a common pitfall, particularly more for the amateurs or the newbies at this level. But someone as experienced as Brooke, she knows and she's playing the long game.
For sure, and that's part of like having a great CrossFit IQ. And I think you saw a lot of really great athletes early on in the sport that just were smarter than a lot of other athletes. And I think now you see all these athletes have had a lot of repetitions under their belt, a lot of workouts to understand what the proper stimulus is, along with all the other semifinals to watch.
That's right. We are in week 3 of the semifinals, so these athletes have certainly had an opportunity or two as we watch Ashley Wozni start to make her way out of the stadium to pace, to watch, to practice, to reevaluate, right? They've done it all and under the sun, and of course, to not do any of these, Scott, would be kind of like having the answers to a test and not really going over them to the full. Now, I'm not saying that you might need to memorize all the answers specifically, but you should have a firm understanding of what it's going to entail. Tell me, would you have done all of these in completion? Would you have tested a piece or a part of them? What's that look like for you when you know the answers?
That's a great question. You know, you look at, this is a lot different than the CrossFit Games when you don't know the workouts and you are going to show up and really like the unknown and unknowable is very much present, but these guys have had a very long amount of time to prepare. And for me specifically, if I was coming into this week and had 4 weeks to prepare, I would probably run through maybe 2 or 3 of them and do some interval style training and get a good feel of like, you know, what the stimulus is going to be, trying different approaches and where can I make up a little bit of time here or there. I personally wouldn't want to run through like a whole weekend. There's just something about when you run through that whole weekend and then you got to do it again, that it's hard to dig in the way that you want to. But when you get to do that for the first time and you've been doing like intervals that were sprint and a little bit of rest, it just starts to feel a little different and it gets you excited to go and do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think you want to, hey, a lot like what we're doing right now, man. We've joked about it. It's like, hey, this is the appetizer to the main course of the coverage throughout the course of the weekend.
That's
you
right.
want to almost allow your preparation to be an appetizer for the main meal that's going to take place on the competition floor, so that you feel like when the rubber meets the road, man, and you're in the thick of it, that it's not like you just relived this for the 3rd time.
Yeah.
Because we've been there so many times already, and it's hard to make yourself go to that pain cave. I think a lot of people watching and tuning in with us can relate to this. If you're newer to the sport, you have a tendency to whiff really bad with pacing, right? Yeah. We both experienced it. We were talking about it before we even got on air, where it's like it's easy to get the emotional draw of the open, for example, or to in a competition floor like this, where it's like, I'm going to run this fast, but I shouldn't have. I'm going to do touch and go. That was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But for you, such a vet in the space, and then you to be like, hey, I'm not going to do actually any of these all the way through because I already know how to pace it. If you have to relive that pace, and it's a blistering pace several times, it's almost discouraging more than it can be helpful.
Well, think about it. Like when we go into the gym, there's days that we go in and you can hit a heavy 1 rep max, or maybe you hit a new one, right? But then there's days that weight feels so heavy, and it's like you get so many big moments of the year. Here comes Brooke.
Brooke back in at 11:55. Now this is round 3 for Brooke Wells. She's going to be in barbell number 4 right there, center right of your stage, hands on the bar, and no other athletes in sight. Now, Scott, Brooke missed out on the CrossFit Games last year, and you've got to really come with the understanding that like this girl got something to prove.
For sure.
And it's not to anyone else but herself. We certainly know that she's one of the fittest women in the entire world, bar none. But when you look at what she's doing right now, she's in the first heat. There's another heat to come. She knows they're waiting on deck. Some of the fittest women, not just in the world, but in history, are watching her. She's trying to set the tone.
She's definitely setting the tone. And she's likely been in circumstances like this, you know, at the CrossFit Games when you're not maybe in that last heat, but you got it in your mind that like, hey, I got to pretend like there's somebody in front of me. It's almost like Mario Kart when you're racing the ghost that has the track record, and you're like, all right, somebody's in front of me.
Hey, that's right.
Whatever you got to do.
She's playing Mario Kart, and I'll tell you what, she's out to a good start. Brooke concluded her final clean and jerk at 12:47, and that was when Hiller put her hands on her bar for her very first rep.
What do you think of this setup with the square? Like, do you like it?
It's interesting and it's unique, right? And I think part of me, I really do. I like that you can eye the competition a little bit easier than the side-to-side, left-to-right that's needed in a lane, right? In a traditional lane sense. So I'm drawn to it. It makes it different from a spectating perspective, but I think there's a lot of head games that go into it too.
Yeah, for sure. You can kind of feed off that energy from the people from your left and right, and it's easier to kind of keep your head on a swivel, especially with 28 athletes on the floor.
We got Jordan Zweck with a hand up. She's got 3 more repetitions left. Many of the ladies, rep after rep. Ashley Wozni with a hand up in the air as well. Now, one of my big focuses on this workout, Scott, was to early pace, not race. Because I think it's really easy to be drawn out into a pace that's absolutely a no-go for what athletes have the capacity for. You know, a lot of us tend to lack the sense of a long game, and so initially it's almost like you've really got to be very disciplined in order not to be lulled into someone else's race pace.
Yeah, you can look at someone after the 3rd round. I feel like that's the round where you can look around and see how they're still moving that bar and what kind of sense of urgency they have getting out the door and how they're feeling. And that's going to tell you a lot about how those next 2 rounds are going to go.
Yeah, and we even see this with some of the barbell cycling, right? Like you notice it's I'm not even exactly what lane it is. I want to say potentially. Well, it's hard for me to tell. I got a bad angle, but to the right of your screen, light blue pants. You're going to notice that every time she takes a clean and jerk, she's going to step away from the bar, like step back, reset herself.
Yep.
And it's just her natural cadence. That's her pace for the bar, right?
Right.
Hopefully that helps set her up for a faster run, but typically 3 rounds in to a 5-round workout, if your pacing starts to be this belabored, you know that potentially you ran into a trouble point so far.
Yeah, it does you no good to be hammering through that barbell if you know it's going to dramatically change that run, right? 10 seconds on a barbell and a minute longer on the run. Come on, like, so getting your breath back, I think, inside here on the barbell and finding what that breathing cadence is for you on each repetition is really important. And it's interesting, you can watch each athlete as they set up after it.
Lane 13 there, Dana Perron working through her clean and jerks. In round 3, she's got 3 more reps left. Now, mind you, Brooke Wells left the arena at 12:47 for her final clean and jerk in round 3. We're now approaching 16:12. And now we're all out. Everybody's into round 4 on the run. These athletes are going through 5 rounds of run 800 meters, 10 clean and jerks. They are trying to lay it all on the line. These are the first 20 of 40 athletes that we're going to watch take the floor here, Scott. They're trying to set the tone and set the times to beat.
Here comes Brooke.
16:36, Brooke entered the arena. Now, we'll see when she gets her hands on the bar. It's like clockwork. She's running about a 3-minute clip for the 800 meters. 16:47, hands on the bar. I'm sorry, 4 minutes. So that was a 4-minute 800 there. Pace has slowed a little bit from rounds 1 through 3 on the run, but it's very consistent. She's still choosing to do singles, no touch and go.
The other thing is these guys got great weather. Like, it is very nice inside. Temperature outside's not crazy hot. I was actually really surprised when we got here because I told my brother Spencer, I'm like, hey, you need to be getting in the sauna. It's going to be hot when you get to Tennessee. It's a pretty nice day.
Yeah, beautiful day, beautiful conditions. Not like you were expressing for triple threes for you back when that was a regional workout. It was a little bit humid that day, you said.
Yeah, they didn't have the AC rolling in the building that first night, and man, I'll tell you what, I remember running that last 3 miles, and I just kept thinking, my face is going to go into this monitor. I might go down.
And I'll tell you what, man, people might not have an appreciation for this, but when you run through real space, there is a breeze on your body. It's a natural thing. When you displace your body through space, you're getting the wind, right, of the oncoming air. When you guys are running triple threes back in the day at regionals, that was 2018, I believe.
Yeah.
You were on runners, man. And not only was the air not moving because the AC wasn't working, but that really adds up in the way that your core body temperature skyrockets when you're on a stationary erg, unless, of course, there's a fan on a treadmill or something like that for you.
Right, 100%. And the runners were all directly lined up right beside each other, very much like the barbells, but in a straight line. And you could feel the heat coming off of your neighbors. And, you know, the biggest difference between running on those, like the runners versus outside is I definitely think when you're running on the runner, having a little more body weight, if you have a good cadence on there, it can actually be beneficial in putting power into that tread versus like here, you got to carry all that body weight throughout that whole 800, which I think makes it a really, really special couplet.
Yeah, it's a very different test, and I always appreciate that. It's the realism, right? We're back to this is CrossFit at its finest, right? Hey, you can lift, awesome. Well, here's a barbell, moderately loaded. Oh, and you can run, sweet. Well, you're going to displace your real body weight through space. You're going to run 2.5 miles, but you're also going to do 50 clean and jerks.
Absolutely. And to me, that's as OG as it gets, right? Man. Like when I think of CrossFit, I think of something that is on the floor that someone from the bleachers couldn't come out and just crush, right? You know, a runner comes out, they're going to get crushed on the barbell. A lifter comes out, they're going to get crushed on the run. And like, these guys are the epitome of fitness.
We've had a few ladies leave the building behind Brooke Wells. Lydia Fish was first on her heels. It looked like Ellie Hiller was there after Lydia, and then Jordan Zweck also heading out. Now this is the big push here. This is where athletes are gonna have to dig a little bit on that 800, right? Like you get your hands on the bar, Scott, for the final 10 clean and jerks of round 4, and you begin round 5. What's going through your mind, as clearly you're already in a state of discomfort?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get to that last round, it's a little bit of like a breath of fresh air. You kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you gotta just keep digging in. And you know, for someone like Brooke, you gotta be thinking about that next heat and how every second matters on the run. Every clean and jerk matters, and you got to get after it and get points where you can.
I talked with Chris Henshaw a little bit last week as we got to share some time during this particular event on the broadcast, and you know, he was talking about how like it's that sweet spot. It's really round 4.
Yeah,
that's the one that's the hardest psychologically, because it's like you had the light at the end of the tunnel when you enter that last round. And anybody tuning in with us, we all know that experience, bro. It's like if you're in a 3-round workout, you're like, thank God it's round 3. But round 2, that's the one where you lose yourself a little bit. You're like, oh no, I'm barely halfway, or you feel bad for yourself, and you're like, I'm gonna slow down just so I can speed up on the final round, right? All these psychological temptations come your way where you're like, okay, yeah, it's all right, Scott. Let's slow down just a little, because then we're gonna have a final big kick. Like, how did you manage that self-talk or like motivation with so much on the line for you as a competitor?
A lot of people say one event at a time, but a lot of times when things start to hurt, I'm like, I gotta get points where I can get points.
Come on, man. Yep.
Because the last thing you want is to finish the weekend and be 1 point, 2 points out, and you're like, if I would have just ran 5 seconds faster on 1-800, if I would have just touch and go, like, you don't want any of those moments ever creeping into your head. You want to know you did everything in your power.
And here she is, a little unstable overhead on her first jerk for that clean and jerk where Brooke Wells is here. Brooke Wells is here, 2 reps in of her 10. Final round, we are at 22:05. She's looking to set the time to beat, and she knows there is a stable of 20 women standing by, ready to knock off whatever time she sets, and so that has to create that urgency for her, just like you mentioned, Scott. Still choosing to go singles here.
And sometimes when you see the singles and there's no touch and go, she might have really pushed that 800 and made up that time there. So, you know, singles aren't a bad way to go on the finish.
No, absolutely not. It kind of helps you really understand that, yes, she's completely at threshold. Even she wobbled and stepped back right there. But it is Brooke Wells with 1 clean and jerk to go. She will be your Heat 1 winner here in Event 1, 22:50 unofficially. Brooke Wells has set the tone, and she will bake and sizzle on the floor immediately after, as we see that as a very common go-to here within our space. Now, an even surprising exchange of the lead was Lydia Fish coming in at 2nd place. 1 more rep to go for Lydia, and she finishes. Wow, Lydia at a Training Think Tank CrossFit. A no rep for Ellie Hiller here at the bottom, at the bottom of your screen.
She's struggling with that lockout a little bit on that right elbow. There it is.
And you can tell this, folks, when you even just watch the athlete's body language. I'm sure you see it, Scott. It's like the legs get a little wider for the clean. They get even wider for the jerk. They forget to stand up all the way, or that instability's there overhead.
Yeah, a lot of people in these situations are thinking, what if I fail? But you need to be thinking, what if I succeed? What do I need to do? You know, big punch. Thinking about every little component. You got to be your coach in your head.
Caroline Klutz, 1 rep to go in lane 15, bottom left. And she's down for the count in lane 15. 12:10 unofficially. Ellie Hiller, 4 reps to go for her. Jordan Zweck still chipping away now, 5 reps to go. Urgency, urgency, urgency's got to be the thought. No matter where these women think they're finishing amongst each other, they got to know they're still fighting the ghost from the later heat that's going to come around the corner here.
We got some touch and goes over there in lane 2. Ripping on this barbell.
Yeah, she's ripping and ripping. That's Rachel Fricker from CrossFit Explode, going non-stop, still hasn't shown the barbell any mercy. She's continuing to slug away. 2 reps to go.
Let's
1
go.
rep to go. She's got it. Brought it home with touch and go reps. Wow. So for her, right? That's a little bit of a blend of both things, right? For you, if that's your athlete, you're like, hey, but could you have pushed to run more?
Right.
Was there more in the tank?
Well, you got to think about it. It's like, is it I'm going to get 10 seconds back on the run or 15 seconds back doing touch and go clean and jerks, or vice versa? And I think you got to look at where your strengths are. You know, if I'm a better runner than I am on the barbell, I got to push the last run and do singles. But if I know that barbell is in my wheelhouse, I might ease up coming in the door knowing I can clang and bang 10 reps out on the clean and jerks.
Yep. And for you at that point, yes, you listen to your body, but more so you got to play the field. Where will you maximize your points? That's the hard choice you got to make there.
Right. And you look at these women, they're all laying on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
That's the indicator that you gave everything you had as you came through the finish line. You know, you walk off, I'd be questioning your
Jessica Kalagian going touch and go. Upper left of your screen, red top. No hesitation from her. 3 reps left. She's getting to the back of her square box. She's gonna have to. They're gonna let her ride it. Wow, impressive there. Lane 3. Bailey chipping away at these clean and jerks. She's got, it looks to be 3 reps to go. We're at 26:35. These athletes all fighting to bring it home here. Lane number 7, that's Reese Littlewood there, touch and go. Left just enough in the tank to hold onto that barbell. Hand in the air for Reese. If you guys are watching this at home and you're into media at all, someone please make a video of this event with "Let the bodies hit the floor."
Yes.
Let the bodies hit the floor.
Because I mean, I'm telling you, all 3 weeks, Scott, 3 weeks straight
In a row.
Bro, the number of bodies that hit the floor before the barbell on the last clean and jerk. It's like they reach lockout and they're laying on the ground before the barbell even hits the ground. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. It's crazy. We got another athlete still working here in lane 13. Dana Perron still chipping away. 10 clean and jerks to go. She's too deep. Scott, it's been quite amazing to me to hear from the athletes as the weekend goes on. Man, their calves are getting lit up, bro.
Yeah, these first 2 days are beating on the legs.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, for me, historically as a competitor, man, I love to hinge, right? I got some long arms, I got a pretty long femurs, I got a short torso though, so the upright position in a squat, overhead squat, I've learned to do it, but it ain't my favorite jam, right?
I feel like we're the opposite.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the way it goes. I'm all limbs, man.
Give me that thruster all day.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh man, that's a really long way for me to make a thruster go. Ladies and gentlemen, we are underway. Heat number 2, event number 1 at the Syndicate Crown North America East semifinals. I'm Adrian Conway and I'm joined here by legend Scott Panchik. Welcome to the kickoff show, folks. We are merely but an appetizer to the main course that'll take place on Saturday and Sunday, but we want to be the eyes and the ears essentially to people that are watching at home. You know, these athletes are out right now on an 800-meter run, Scott. The workout that they are diving into is an 800-meter run, 10 clean and jerks at 125 pounds. They're going to do this 5 rounds for time. What are your initial thoughts on this test that awaits them?
No, it's going to hurt. It's got to hurt if you want to do well.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a great point that aligns directly with my co-ruck steps to success, man, honestly. Because you're like, hey, this is going to hurt, but not only is it going to hurt, but it's also got to hurt at the right time, right?
Yep.
And so my first point in step to success is that you've got to pace, not race. And I mean that more so early on, where you've got to really be aware of your own potential and own capacity, particularly with the running. It's so easy to get lulled out into someone else's pace, and then you get caught in what we categorize as a deficit, man, or you hit what we notoriously coin as the red line. That's a dangerous place to be.
You don't want to be there.
The last point that I have in the second point is mechanics matter. And the reason that I highlighted this, Scott, is because, you know, these athletes are elite in capacity, but even though 125 might not be heavy for them, they got to do it 50 times. And every little bit of mechanical failure or inefficiency bleeds out the energy for the next rep or the next run.
Yeah, and you look at something like a clean and jerk, it's just full body. I mean, you think about, we have a benchmark, Grace, it's 30 clean and jerks at 135 for the men, 95 for the women.
Yep.
And these guys are doing 50 clean and jerks.
50 at 125 pounds for the women. We ain't even talking about what the men are doing. They're going to do 185 here in a little bit.
Right.
But it's 125 pounds for the women. And it's absolutely amazing at the display of fitness and capacity that we've seen develop through the course and development of our sport in general. But man, this heat is absolutely stacked. We are literally 2 minutes and 30 seconds into this, and we've got a lineup of Shelby Neal, Mary Helen Sanders, Callista Lang, Amanda Barnhart, Lexi Neely, Fee Sagafi, Elena Savage, Caroline Prevost, Erica Folo, Emma Lawson, Alexis Raptis, Danielle Brandon, Haley Adams, Tia Claire Toomey, Annika Greer, Paige Semenza, Chloe Gavon David, Caroline Stanley, Caitlin Sanders, and Elizabeth Wishart. They're getting ready to make their way into the stadium, and here we've got it. Athletes already making moves. Tia Claire Toomey amongst them, going to be one of her first back to the barbell. Haley Adams following very closely. It's going to be Tia with her hands on the barbell at 311 first, choosing to go singles out the gate. Haley immediately to her left, executing her first rep at about the 315 mark. These women are only reps apart from one another. Scott, it is a long race. Danielle Brandon, hands on the bar. Elena Savage was the third to her barbell. Wow. Hey man, if this is any kind of precursor to what kind of race we have in store, it's going to be a barn burner.
They were cooking coming in that door, I'll tell you what.
Cooking at an exceptional pace, as we saw Brooke Wells start similar pace to this and then steady kind of settle into a smoother pace, if we will. Tia Claire Toomey out the door at 3:49. She finished her last clean and jerk.
Now this is what's tough about...
Haley Adams, 3:56 finished hers, so she's about a 7-second delay. Elena Savage out the door, 4 minutes. About 4 seconds behind Haley. Tell me what you were going to say.
This is what's tough about being in the final heat here is everybody's moving, and you got to know your pace.
That's right.
And you really got to look at your heart rate. I think that's the biggest thing is when that heart rate starts to get away from you in a 20-plus minute workout, you got to figure out a way to reel it in, whether it's slowing down the clean and jerks or slowing down the run. Something's got to come down a little bit.
Something's always got to give as we watch Amanda Barnhart, going to be one of the final athletes out on this round. Now, is this a red flag for Amanda? To me, it's absolutely not. Right?
No.
This is a long workout, folks. If you're on the fast side of this thing, you're talking 22, 23 minutes deep anyway. So if you look at this and you're like, yeah, I'm really killing it. I won the first 3.5 minutes of the workout. You might be in a bad spot, man. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, think about it. Let's just say it was a 5K, right? And we're, what, 4 minutes in, 5 minutes in? Like, we got a long way to go.
We got a terribly long way to go, but here's the unique thing, and we've talked about this a little bit, Scott, is that there's a psychological component of competing that lends itself very well to people who are even-keeled, right? If you get too high too early because you're like, yeah, I'm winning, well, that's great, but this is a 5-round workout, friend. Like, don't try to win that. So if you're willing to win early, you've got to have the perseverance to continue to have the lead. Equally, if you find yourself as one of the last to exit the stadium, like we just saw from Amanda Barnhart, an experienced CrossFit Games athlete, you've got to have the understanding for, did I pace this just right, and how will this lead to my success in rounds 3, 4, and 5?
Right, and the other thing you have to think about too is your overall capacity. Where is this workout in comparison to all the other things that you got to do this weekend, right? You got to be able to stay in your lane, know your paces, because if you overexert yourself and you're trying to run a pace that you're not capable of doing, it can not only be detrimental to this workout, but also the rest of the weekend.
Absolutely, and I think that it's easy to watch what these athletes do and be like, cool, one event at a time. You mentioned it already. Hey, we're going to maximize the amount of points that we can accumulate in every one event. We can't necessarily save ourselves.
Right.
But there is this unique skill that you've been really great at executing throughout your career, and there's an element of preservation throughout the course of a long weekend, man. Yeah. It's like 4 days, 5 days. You get to the CrossFit Games, man, it's a whole, sometimes it's a week long.
Yeah.
Right? How have you navigated that in your years?
You have to think of it as a full weekend of events and how every event can play into the next event. So if you're doing things that maybe you didn't necessarily do in training, you're going to come into the next event and you're going to feel different than you did in training. I mean, you're already going to feel different because the intensity's through the roof, but you got to think a little bit about the weekend as a whole.
There's no doubt about it. As you hear the crowd completely erupt for Tia-Clair Toomey entering the stadium at about 7:05, she's going to be first with her hands on the bar, closely followed by Haley Adams, and it looks like Elena Savage is right there nipping at their heels. We've got Tia-Clair Toomey hands on at 7:20 with her clean and jerk, still choosing to go singles. Haley Adams hands on the bar, 7:24, almost moving in unison as if this is synchro clean and jerks. Elena Savage in lane 14, bottom of your screen, 7:32 hands on, executing rep number 1. We've got Emma Lawson entering the stadium, closely followed by Danielle Brandon, Alexis Raptis. It looks like Caroline Prevost also there nipping at her heels. But it will be lane number 3, Caroline Stanley with her hands on the bar first from that pack. And again, this is the misleading thing, Scott, with this setup, where it's like we watch people enter the stadium, we're like, oh, okay, first, second, third. But no, you got to get your hands on the bar and start to lift because your spot is a little bit further than the rest. Tia is out the door and literally exiting the stadium at about 8:10. Haley Adams not far behind, exiting at about 8:16 with a 6-second buffer. Elena Savage still with 2 reps left, who followed pretty closely to Haley Adams to come in to start this round of clean and jerks. And it looks like she's going to be about 15 seconds behind her to the exit, as it's about 8:32 for Elena Savage on the exit of the bar of the stadium. Emma Lawson exiting right about 8:39. And then we got Alexis Raptis, we got Erica Folo, Danielle Brandon on her way out. Wow, Paige Semenza closely following Danielle Brandon. What a race we are in for. Now, Scott, as we watch some of these ladies continue to navigate these clean and jerks, and again, we're already seeing this. So Amanda Barnhart was last out, okay? Now, she's already now passed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She's already passed 5, potentially 6 women in one round of just a run and clean and jerk. Now, let's say she keeps her pace and the rest get a little faulty. Fisagafi just exited just ahead of Amanda Barnhart. That helps me understand, like, okay, she paced it very well to start, and she understands that she's going to build into this. I got to share, I was at the CrossFit Games as an individual only one time, 2015. It was the first year that we did Murph. My other 3 appearances were on a team. We had some success. That was awesome. But individually, man, we did Murph, and it was 2015. It was hot.
Oh, so hot.
As a mother, okay? And a lot of people struggled with the heat and all this, right? That was my best finish that year, actually. I got 7th on Murph. I was a bigger dude back then compared to the rest of the guys, so I was pretty proud of that. But what, I kid you not, I think I was 36th on the first mile.
I'm telling you, anytime I've seen anybody do well in Murph, it's not always the first person.
It's very rare, right? It's very rare. Now, I remember a couple guys. Yeah, there were a few guys. I think Noah Olson, Matt Frazier, BKG. There were some guys that just had the lead and like they just kept it and ran with it.
Yeah.
Like there was no walking those guys down. But the vast majority of the field, they had that adrenaline dump, a lot like what these athletes had when it was 3, 2, 1, go beep, right? Once that beep hits, they're out the gusto with like all the adrenaline, all the emotion, especially because it's event 1.
Yeah.
It's so uniquely placed early that this event tests your stamina, endurance, and pacing, yes, but because the long event is early, doesn't that also even test your endurance for the rest of the weekend?
For sure, because like I said, this workout can ruin you for the weekend if you don't respect it. I think each workout deserves respect in so many ways. And it can be very detrimental to the rest of your weekend if you are getting outside your comfort zone, I guess, in a sense of knowing your pacing, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that just, man, yeah. Again, we can't harp on it enough. Right now, these athletes are having this 800-meter run, though, and now you're in the thick of it. Is there any psychological play for you, right? So the women are running. They're eyeing their fellow competitors. They're seeing someone within the striking distance, just like we're seeing right here with Tia Claire Toomey and Haley Adams entering the stadium together. Now, Haley knows she's got just a touch further to go than Tia every rep. So for her to stay just on her outside shoulder is a great striking distance for her, especially as we gear up for these last couple runs. Tia hands-on at 11:43, Haley right with her at 11:44.
Yeah, and Haley, has got to be thinking a little bit about, like, how quickly is Tia moving through this barbell, right? How quickly is she getting out the door? Is it 5 seconds, 10 seconds, where she's got to close that gap, into that last round if she wants to win this workout?
And that's, we're now having this elevated level of conversation about competition. Right, where it's like a lot of folks watching this and they're like, hey, if I'm going to do this at my affiliate, well, I'm going to really run fast and I'm going to clean and jerk fast, and that's about as simple as it gets. For these athletes, from a competitive nature, Haley's watching Tia and Tia's watching Haley. They feel each other the whole time. What can she do? Will she touch and go on the last bar? Can I beat her in a sprint if I need to? Yep. All of these things are things that you have to consider entering the latter part of this workout, because they're going to be competing essentially for a 3-point lead over one another.
Right, and as she goes out that door, there was a moment where Haley got her in her sights, and you have like landmarks kind of along the route that you're like, okay, I got to catch up to her by this spot if I want to come in the door.
That's right.
And have a chance.
That's right. So again, another level, right? Landmarking the distances at which you need to make your move. So in our minds, from our comfy spectator seats that we've got up here at the Syndicate Crown, we can assume that Tia has a distance marked where she's like, hey, I need to create separation between Haley and I at this point. Equally, Haley's like, yo, I need to be within striking distance at this point of the run, or I'll have no chance to pass her in the latter rounds.
Well, what you really want to think about is how can you take the will to win away?
Right.
There's a moment, and it's usually the 4th round. It's the hardest round of every workout. And in a 5-round workout, it is the 4th round where you take someone's will away. And when you pass someone, you pass them with authority.
And this is the one right here, Scott. A lot of these women have now exited for their 4th round, okay? And so as this takes place, this is the grind of that moment that we talked about a little bit in the last heat where, okay, hey, when it's the last round of a workout, everybody tuning in understands there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. It's almost a sense of relief. But this is the round that separates the champions. In this instance, man, it's the ones that are going to go to the CrossFit Games, the ones that are going to stay at home all summer.
Yeah. In round 4, you're passing someone with authority, and they're going to make a decision. They're either going to respond and run with you, or they're going to turn around and see who they got to hold off.
Still got some ladies chipping away at their clean and jerks. Annika Greer, one of them, as she's making her way out. Now, this is one of those aspects of Annika's fitness that she's looked to have growth in, Scott. She's looked to build her aerobic base, to be able to improve her ability to go far. Even from a teen games competitor, we knew that she had strength. We knew that she could learn skills. We knew that she could execute things within a demand perspective when it comes to just kind of showing what you can do. But it's about, like, and you'll recognize this, it's about blending it together. Yeah. That's what makes you great in our sport.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of the times spectators look at athletes and they're like, well, if they would just fix this, they'd go to the CrossFit Games, or they'd, get on the podium, or they would win. And it's like, they know that. Yep. They're working very hard to get better at whatever it is.
Whatever it is. Speaking of getting better at whatever it is, we have got a lot of athletes always trying to get stronger. And we have got athletes constantly working at their strength. We get a shot at Paige Semenza. Now, this isn't a clean and jerk event, but clearly she's working on refining mechanics so that she can move heavier loads, so that she can do it more efficiently. And what a great shot at some of the women in our sport mastering the barbell so that their fitness can continue to rise. As we've got Tia-Clair Toomey entering just a little bit further ahead of Haley than she was on the last round. Now, go ahead.
She knows she's got to get out that door before her.
That's right.
You know, she's like, I gotta make up some ground here on the barbell, and I gotta get out this door fast. And Haley's thinking, I gotta get out the door the same time as her, and I got a shot.
Haley Adams, an athlete who sat out last year. We are watching her return. Took some personal time of leave from competition. She is back. She is fired up to compete. She's having fun, and she's doing it at an extremely high level. Tia-Clair Toomey started her journey into motherhood this past year. She has returned with an amazing amount of momentum. Look at her handle this weight like it's absolutely an afterthought. And now she's out the door to showcase her fitness in the form of a run. Created just a touch of separation between her and Haley. This is going to be huge for Tia going into the final run.
Yeah, that was a little more separation there. Now here's the thing. Haley's taking a little bit of time off, and I wouldn't be surprised if she really is excited to hurt on this last 800.
There's no doubt about it. She's going to be extremely excited to hurt on this last one. But Haley and Tia-Clair Toomey are already out the gate. Emma Lawson just getting her hands on the barbell at about 17-15. That just shows you, Scott, how fast these two leaders are ripping and running this particular event. Yeah. Danielle Brandon now to work as well.
I always compare it to a 5-minute mile, right? The last 10, 15 seconds, you got to work so hard to close that gap.
Exactly, and that's the thing, is like how much of an advantage have they already created? Have they now, like the rest of this pack ain't touching them, and they know it. Right? So now they're looking at each other, eye to eye, rubbing shoulder to shoulder, and they're like, okay, let's see who can get third.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. Emma Lawson made quick work of that barbell, and she's out the gate. She's out the door. Fisa Goffi now she's going to make one more turn, and she'll be back at her bar, as well as Caroline Prevost, everybody's favorite teacher, making her way to the bar. Erica Folo making great pace here and out the door herself. Danielle Brandon shortly behind her. Alexis Raptis finishing her clean and jerk reps. This is it. This is when you've got to dig deep. This is when you've got to think, am I here to compete or am I here to go to the CrossFit Games? And you've got to have that honest conversation with yourself. Some people are going to turn it down, Scott. Like they're going to be like, oh, I don't have what it takes, right? Like
how bad do you really want it?
And the doubts creep in, right? Like it's a very real thing, and it's totally normal.
Yeah, 100%. You're talking to yourself, and you got to keep putting the positive thoughts. And you're going to get clumped in with somebody here coming through the finish line, right? And you're trying to figure out, are they a better runner, or are they going to go some touch and go repetitions here on this barbell?
That's right. Fisa Goffi, 2 reps to go, 1 rep to go for Fee, and she's going to be out the door. Amanda Barnhart putting on a great example of pacing. She continues to pass athletes, but Fee said, not me, and she's out the door just a little ahead of her.
They've been running out the door pretty close to one another the last couple rounds.
It's true. And Fisa Goffi, someone you're very familiar with, Scott. What's your relationship like with Fee?
So Fee started her whole CrossFit journey at our gym. I got to see her do her first workout, first competition, first open, and to watch her come out of college and start CrossFit and then make it to the CrossFit Games is truly, really special.
Shelby Neal making her way out of the gym. Now, when Fee started, was it just like, yo, this girl is special? Or were you like, she got some work to do. Let's catch her up to speed.
She had some work to do.
Yeah.
She wasn't someone that came in and said, I want to go to the CrossFit Games. It wasn't like the goal she set. We set achievable goals for her throughout her whole career, and we really talked about each one of them. And you got to chip away. You can't go to the CrossFit Games before you do a local competition.
That's right. And there's levels to this. And we're seeing that even as we watch greatness enter the competition floor once again. Tia-Clair Toomey with Haley Adams not far behind. She's going to have about a 3 to 4 second buffer. But we know that Tia's got the capacity to go touch and go if she chooses to here. She sets. Shoulder overhead, and yes, it's going down. She has got 9 reps to go, and these are going to go all down, touch and go. This is enough to create the separation regardless of what Haley chooses to do, but it looks like it's going to be singles for her out the gate.
See, what's interesting to me is she could do 5 touch and go and then do 5 singles preserve that grip, but this is dominance in the sport.
This is it. This is dominance in the sport. This is the return of Tia-Clair Toomey at 20:56 with a hand raised to the crowd. She said, I gave you the East for a year, and now I'm back, and it's mine, and I'm here to show it. Haley Adams finishing up. She's only got a few reps to go. Now, Emma Lawson was the closest athlete at the time as they put their hands on these bars and exited on the last round. Haley Adams with the return, 1 rep to go, nipping at the heels of the fittest woman in history. It's Haley Adams with a second place, and she gives the crowd 2 hands and is certainly back. Emma Lawson now enters the stadium. With no one in sight after this, and she just looks and gets to see Haley and Tia both have finally, I mean, she literally smiles at him, man. She gave him a smile.
Here comes Danielle. Now, here's the question, is touch and go or singles?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, this gym's gonna get populated real fast.
Hey, there we go.
Emma Lawson with touch and go, bottom right, lane 11. Danielle Brandon, hands on the bar, sees the touch and go by Emma and says, yep, me too. And here's the unique thing, in lane 3, we've also got Caroline Stanley. Now she's touch and go. This is gonna be close between her and Danielle. They've gotta have some urgency here. 5 reps, hands up for Danielle Brandon. Hands up for Caroline. 2 reps to go for Brandon. 1 rep. Oh, this was closer than I thought. Danielle by a hair, it looked like. Caroline right there with her. We are gonna have to go to the tape to know exactly who finished there.
That was
Alexis Rapt is doing singles. Paige Semenza chipping away, but it's Erica Folo with only 2 repetitions left. Amanda Barhart in the stadium, moving the barbell like it's nothing, literally push pressing it, Scott,
looks like
from her shoulders.
toy.
Oh my goodness. Talk about pacing. She's gonna have the ability to pass Raptis right here. She's only got 4 reps left. Raptis with 3 reps left, or 2 reps. I can't see the judge's hand. 1 rep for Raptis. Done for Barnhart. What an execution of pacing there for her. Raptis done. Wow.
That's incredible. And that's a perfect example because her and Fee went out the door at the same time, but Fee had to go all the way around the square.
That's right.
And she got to go right onto that barbell.
Fee on singles with 4 reps remaining for her. We've got Mary Helen Saunders out already. Shelby Neal to the barbell. Upper left. Chloe Gavon David, another athlete who we've seen many times, specifically on a team, now taking the individual shot for herself.
Fee Scoffy's done.
Fee across the finish line. Callista Lang, 3 to 4 reps in, but it's Shelby Neal with 1 rep left. Done at 24, oh nope, she had 2 reps left, my bad folks. At 24:08 she's done. Let the bodies hit the floor. Wow. Chloe Gavon David, done. Lane 1, still chipping away, is Elizabeth Wishart. Singles for Elizabeth. Annika Greer just entering the stadium. Followed closely, but will be following her to the barbell, Lexi Neely with their hands on the bar. She's gonna go singles here. Now this is where you consider pacing a little bit here. Caroline Prevost, 2 reps left. Bottom of your screen, center, lane 13. Now the reason I started to bring up pacing is because Elena Savage, Scott, was one of the first athletes to the barbell in both of the first 2 rounds.
I remember.
Now she's got some tape on her shin. It looks like a little bit of almost a limp, and I don't know if that's something that she came into this event, whether you would assume.
Right. Well,
but it didn't look like to play a factor until the latter rounds.
Yeah, you know what's difficult is these guys have had so much time to do these specific workouts and movements that it's pretty easy to get an overuse injury from training these specific things over the course of the last 4 weeks.
Gosh, it's so true, man, and that's where the art of programming comes into it, right? Yes, it's a science, but it's also an art. You gotta listen to your body, you gotta know what works for you. We talked about maybe not doing these workouts all the way through. We talked about maybe doing intervals of them so you don't get that overexposure.
Yeah.
And this is the beauty, Scott. This is why we have variants the way that we do in CrossFit. It protects you from stuff like this.
It does, and it's like a prescription, right? Everybody has a little bit of a different dosage that they can do. You think of running, so much mileage on the week. It's the same way with these guys. They got to figure out what is the right amount of fitness that allows me to do what I need to do.
That's right. And that was Elena Savage. Came across just under 26 minutes, folks. What an absolute showdown. Heat number 2 was here for event number 1. We're at the Syndicate Crown North America East semifinals. This is the kickoff show. I'm Adrian Conway. Scott, thanks so much for joining me, man. These women put on a show. It was back and forth between Tia and Haley the entire time, right? Tia kind of leading the way, leading the charge, created just enough separation to get comfortable and then show us the fitness that she's got doing touch and go. I think we're in for quite a show over the next several days, and I can't wait to see what plays out.